So I wanted to make a quick video explaining how we can use this formula, this inverse resistance total formula, to get 2.5 ohms in our first example. So earlier we figured out that we could just do voltage divided by current total to get 2.5 ohms. But we could also use this formula. So we're going to go ahead and resolve for the resistance total. And of course, I'm going to rewrite this formula here, this 1 over resistance total. So 1 over resistance total equals 1 over resistance 1 plus 1 over resistance 2. And since we only have two resistors, two pathways, we will only have 2 in the equation. And so this formula is actually easier than it looks. We know resistance 1 and we know resistance 2, so we can rewrite this as 1 over resistor 1 is 5 ohms plus 1 over resistor 2, which is also 5 ohms. And this is pretty simple. It's just 1 plus 1 is 2, and the denominator, as we know from simple math, stays the same. And you might say, well, Mr. Anderson, that's not the same as 2.5 ohms. 2 divided by 5 is some other number. It's actually 0.4. Well, yeah, but that's because this is the same, as we said over here, as the inverse of our resistance total. So another way to write that is the resistance total to the -1 power. So this actually becomes very easy to fix this problem, to find out what the actual resistance total is. So let's start over. Let's say, what's the resistance total? Well, we know that the resistance total is the same as saying the resistance total divided by 1, because now it doesn't matter what the resistance total is. If you divide it by 1, it doesn't change. And all an inverse is where you flip a fraction. So we have a fraction. Resistance total divided by 1 is a fraction. Therefore, 1 divided by the resistance total is the inverse of that. It's the flipped fraction. And so we can actually just rewrite this to say that 1 over resistance total is the same as saying 2 over 5 to the -1, or in other words, the inverse of this. And where am I getting that from? Well, it's right here. 1 over resistance total equals 2 over 5. So that's where I'm actually plugging this in at. And so how do you take the inverse? How do you take something to the -1 value? All you do, as we showed earlier, is you flip the fraction. So 2 over 5 flipped is just 5 over 2, which of course is the same thing as saying 2.5. So we can actually just say 5 over 2 is the resistance total equals 2.5 ohms. And as you can see, doing it this way, solving for it using this total resistance inverse equation, will get you the exact same answer as using the normal equation, voltage divided by current.